I call today's meeting of Public Service Subcommittee to order. Madam Secretary, would you please take our roll?
Alexander. Present. Dixie. Here. Eldridge. Here. Johnson. Here. Kiesling. Here. Powers. Here. Chairlady Rudder.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to take a moment of silence to pray for the children, the teachers, and the family at the Covenant School. Thank you. Do we have any personal orders or recognitions from our members? Seeing none, we'll now take up our calendar. First up, we have item number 1, which is House Bill 317 by Leader Lambert. We have a motion and a second. There's no amendments filed. Leader, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. Madam Chairman.
Excuse just a moment. Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. On June 19th, 1865, about 2,000 Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, to announce to the more than 250,000 enslaved black people in the state who were free by executive order. The message came more than 2 years after President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation. It took the 13th Amendment to formally abolish slavery in the United States, except for as a crime for punishment for crime. The General Assembly previously voted to designate Juneteenth as a special day of observance here in the state. What this bill would do is simply change the designation from a special observance to a state holiday. And that's all this bill does. Madam Chair and members, I appreciate your vote.
I think we jumped the gun a little bit right there. We need a motion and a second for the record for this. Okay. Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and you move on to full committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee. Thank you for letting me talk before my motion. Second, but I
got ahead of myself.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Just a moment. With the committee's indulgence, we're going to go out of order and take up item number 18, House Bill 328, on our addendum calendar. That would be Leader Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
You have a motion and a second.
And there is an amendment that makes the bill coded 6794.
Okay. This there is an amendment, Leader Lambert. Could you give me that code?
Coded 6794.
This amendment was untimely filed, and without objection, we're going to go ahead and put that on the bill. Is that okay? Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And again, this came about late in the session as the reason we suspended the rules on the floor to get this bill in committee today and had the amendment filed untimely. But one of the issues that has come up throughout our state in small communities is that first responders have older equipment. We have small communities that don't have the tax base to be able to get firefighters and police officers and other first responders equipment that's even gently used. I mean, some of these firefighters are using coats that are 15, 20 years old. And it's simply dangerous. And so what this does is it's the Tennessee Local Development Authority Public Safety Protection Act of 2023. And my hope is that as part of the budget conversations going forward, we would set $50 million aside of one-time money in a revolving fund for low-interest loans for small communities. And we already do this for water projects. We do this for some sewer projects. There's some revolving loans out there already. And we would be piggybacking on that program for small communities to be able to have better public safety. It's just, I think, time that we do more as a state to help these small communities.
Do we have any questions? You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And to the sponsor, when you're talking about low-interest loans, what are we looking at, like 1 or 2%, or was that, I couldn't find that in the bill, or is there any set amount or a window there?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And the treasurer would handle that aspect of it and would be able to set that. So, I mean, I think they work with these local governments to, set that depending upon what's available in the market and then make sure it's below market rate.
Representative Eldridge, you're recognized.
I just have a comment, Madam Chair. This is badly needed, and up in our area in Granger County, I've had the opportunity to go to a couple of the volunteer fire departments up there, and the equipment, some of it's pretty ragged, almost unusable. So I really appreciate this coming forward.
Thank you.
Yes, Chairman Powers.
Yeah, and that just made me think of one other thing. This is good for volunteer fire department too, or is it only municipalities or?
You're recognized.
So they would have to go through the county for that, but as long as the county was applying, then it could be utilized for volunteer fire departments.
Okay, good.
And it says on page 4 under subsection 6B is that the county entering into this, because you have to have a city or a county that will be entering into
Right.
these. It says that for the residents within the unincorporated area of the county served by the county or volunteer fire department. So we actually purposely put that language in there so that counties could apply to get assistance from volunteer fire departments, but it's going to have to be the county that would apply.
Okay, good. Thank you for bringing this. Thank you.
Any more questions? Yes. Representative Dixie.
I just wanted for clarification. You said that this was because they didn't have the tax base that to have the money ahead of time, and this has nothing to do with it. But I was just wondering, because they have issues with the tax base, do they have the same issue with schools?
You're recognized.
So in some communities they do, but a lot of times what happens is that obviously the state and the county, they're joining together. We send quite a bit of state dollars, as you're aware of, to the counties for the ongoing recurring cost of schools, K through 12. And, that number is in the billions, obviously, at this juncture. But for the structures, the county usually will build those schools. I mean, that's kind of their responsibility. And then what we're talking about more here is for first responders that are a part of either the county or small cities. So in Sumner County, for instance, Sumner County is a large county, 200,000 people roughly. They have the ability to be able to build the schools. But if you're in Westmoreland, in my district, which Chairman Kiesling knows well, just outside of his district there, it's a little bitty town. They don't have the tax base in the northern part of my county for first responder equipment. Now, the county itself may still be able to build the schools and still may be able to afford quite a bit, but in that little city, they're going to struggle to have the sales tax and the property tax available to them that, say, Hendersonville in my district is going to have. And so it helps them with some of this stuff, regardless of really what the tax base might be for the overall county.
All right. Thank you for the explanation.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? We do have to get this amendment on the bill, so we have a motion and a second. Yes. All in favor? The amendment is now on your bill. Do we have any more questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Question's been called. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and you move on to full committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee, and thanks for taking me out of order. I apologize to the other members. Chairman Doggett would have been ill at me if I wasn't down there in criminal sub where I'm supposed to be right now. Thank you all very much.
You better head on down then. We don't want him to be upset. Now then, we are back to our regular calendar, which is item number 2, House Bill 1519 by Chairman Hicks. Chairman Hicks, you have a motion and a second, and I don't think there's any amendments filed. So, Chairman, you're recognized to explain your bill.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady. Good afternoon, members. I'm here today to present to you House Bill 1519 on behalf of Speaker Sexton. The purpose of this legislation, and just to give you a little context, in 2021, the General Assembly passed legislation to prohibit a member of the General Assembly from personally bidding on, selling, or offering for sale a service or having an interest in an organization that is bidding on, selling, or offering for sale a service to a state entity. The changes to this statute, here's what this bill will do. This bill will add an exception to the prohibition for members of the General Assembly if the bidding, selling, or offering for sale by an organization they have an interest in is held as an investment with a federally chartered bank or state chartered bank, or a share in a mutual fund or held in a security in a business enterprise listed on the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ, and the holding represents less than 5% of the outstanding securities of the business enterprise. And again, these exceptions must be disclosed pursuant to TCA 210-128 or 850-502 as applicable. So in conclusion, simply put, this bill clarifies that a member can have mutual funds or investments without violating the prohibition passed in 2021.
Thank you. Do we have
Any
any questions? Representative Powers?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I was looking at was the fiscal note. There's a Class E felony involved here. And do you know somebody in finance that might be able to talk about that?
I know the chair lady pretty well, so I'll.
No, why? Really? I mean, why wouldn't there be a note on it if it's going to be a Class E felony? Would you not have a note based on that?
It says that adding such the exceptions that we're talking about will not significantly alter the policies or procedures of the Department of General Services or the Central Procurement Office. And so with that being said, pretty much any impact would be very minimal.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Dixie, you're recognized.
Well, I think the gentleman to the left of me explained it to me. I was just wondering what's the difference. This is just adding about investments.
That's true.
Okay.
And mutual funds, right.
Mutual funds, okay.
Do we have any more questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Your bill moves on to full committee.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady and
Thank you.
Committee.
Next, we have item number 3, which is House Bill 23 by Chairman Moon. Do we have a motion and a second? We do. And we also have an amendment filed. Would you give me that drafting code, Chairman?
5885, Madam Chair Lady.
5885. Motion and a second on the amendment. Let's go ahead and vote and put that amendment on the bills. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The amendment goes on the bill, and you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady and Committee. This opens Title 8, which is in Chapter 44 of the Open Meetings Law, as we know it. 99% of the city councils and county commissions already make their agendas available to the public. This came about because of a rezoning. The rezoning took place near Nashville, and after the meeting, a group said that they didn't know what was going to be heard at the meeting. They litigated, and it was found that in statute, only notice of the meeting is required. There's nothing in code that requires, except under 55105, special call meetings, that the agenda should be published. So that's what this bill accomplishes. It started out as a very large bill, and after about 6 weeks, we got it down to the amendment that we have before us. And it says a local government legislative body, and that's defined as local government means incorporated city, town, or metropolitan government or county. That a local government legislative body shall make available to the public at no charge the agenda of the upcoming meeting in a place accessible to the public. If you have a website, that satisfies it. If you don't, then just like school boards, if you post it in a place where the meeting shall take place, that takes care of that. It doesn't preempt the bylaws of the commission or the council. If your bylaws allow for 2/3 vote to take something up in that agenda, it's allowed under this bill. If your local government is served with a lawsuit and you want to take that up that night to tell the county attorney, go ahead, prepare an answer, you can still do that. This is to take care of putting in statute that an agenda will be provided to the public at least 48 hours prior to that meeting. Madam Chair Lady, that is the bill.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, are we ready to vote? Question's been called. All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have
Thank
it,
you,
and we're
Madam Chair,
moving on
lady
to
and
full
members.
committee. Next up, we have item number 4, which is a House Bill 422 by Representative Ritchie. Do we have a motion and a second? You have an amendment filed with this bill? Could you give me that code?
I do. Thank you, Chair Lady. It is 4249.
That is not the drafting code that we
Oh,
have.
5730.
5730. Okay, that's the one. Do I have a motion and a second on this amendment? We do. If there's no objection, let's go ahead and get that amendment on the bill. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? The amendment goes on the bill, and you're free to explain your bill.
Thank you, Chair, Lady, and Committee. So what this particular bill goes to do is set up some guardrails on executive order authority from the governor. Right now, the governor can write an executive order for 45 days and then continually just renew that into infinity if wanting to be. What this is doing is putting in place the where before the end of the 45 days, it would take either a special session between the General Assembly to be able to pass a joint resolution to be able to either authorize the governor to do an additional executive order, or B, address the situation or the issue that's at hand. Some of the concerns is in some of these natural disasters, if FEMA or something of that nature is responding, a lot of times you end up seeing delays in that, but that still does not preclude the separation of powers and the General Assembly actually passing the laws that impact the state all the way across the board. So all this is doing is just putting into the language the governor has that right and ability to be able to write a 45-day executive order. But in order for it to extend beyond the 45 days, the General Assembly would have to pass a joint resolution. That way it wouldn't have to set over and things of that nature with it being a bill, and that's why we decided to put the language for it to be a joint resolution. And with that, renew my motion. Thank you.
Members, you've heard the explanation. Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Chairman Kiesling?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there anyone from, I noticed the administration has flagged this. Is anyone requested testimony from the administration?
No, sir.
Oh. Okay. Thank you.
We're double checking. Without objection, we're going to go ahead and hear from Valerie Yancey with the governor's office. Please give us your name and who you represent. Oh, I got to go out of session. I'm sorry. We have to go out of session. We're out of session now. Please proceed.
With Governor Lee's legislative office. Yes, ma'am. This is not the first time we have heard this issue. Back in 2021, the legislature called a special session to deal with the executive powers issue, and 5 members of this committee voted on the bill that changed the executive order limit from 60 days to 45 days. At the time when there were discussions leading up to special session, we had expressed our concern then that you cannot foresee what type of natural disasters or national emergencies could emerge that could cause a reason for the governor to need to do to use his executive powers for emergency services. We at the time had used the example if there was an issue at Oak Ridge National Laboratories, if there was a serious earthquake, a massive earthquake in West Tennessee, things that could make it impossible for the legislature to come into session to allow for a continuation of the executive order. Those are the things that we just have to prepare for. And if there were something that kept the legislature from being able to come into session, this would give the governor the ability to continue to deal with emergency services. And I would say that if it were not a situation that you all could not get in here, you could call a special session at any time like you did during the pandemic. So there's nothing to stop you from calling a special session to deal with a perceived or actual misuse of executive powers of any governor in the future. So for that reason, we feel like the governor needs this flexibility to help the state when there is a serious situation occurring. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Chairman Johnson. Oh, Valerie, we have questions for you. Questions.
Sorry, nobody ever asks.
Under this bill, if we had a natural disaster and the governor issued, say, an executive order this week, 1 in 2 weeks, 1 in 6 weeks, would we have to come back in session to
Yes, sir.
renew each and every one of those?
The way I'm reading this, yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions? Chairman Kiesling?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not to Miss Valerie.
Okay. Valerie.
Legal, but no.
We're going to go back into session. Oh, we're out of session, so you want to?
Could we stay out? Yes, please. Could we do that? And to legal.
Mr. Mundy.
You heard Valerie. Legal, is that, not that I'm questioning her, but anyway, is that pretty much in line with how the bill reads then? Or the amendment, I should say, maybe.
Thank you, Matt Mundy from Legal Services. Yes, I would agree with that. The bill says that once it expires, so for instance, if there is an executive order that wasn't issued for the entirety of the 45 days, if it was issued for 21 days, the bill says that the governor shall not declare a new state of emergency for the same disaster or occurrence as the expired state of emergency within 1 year of the expiration of the state of emergency. So it doesn't matter how long of a period that executive order is issued declaring the state of emergency, it wouldn't be able to be renewed for a period of 1 year.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mundy. Thank you, Chair Lady.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Would you like to have some closing remarks?
Yes, thank you, Chair Lady. So there are currently 7 other states that have this particular style language put up. Lady mentioned that it would be impossible for the General Assembly. I would like to say that's the complete opposite. I could walk from Blount County in less than 45 days if it was required of me to be here. So saying that it would be impossible for folks to be able to call a special session is a little bit stretch of the imagination. The separation of powers is there for a specific reason. It's not for it to be over-abused from a particular sector of government. And we were elected to be able to make the laws. The governor was not elected to be able to make laws. That's the General Assembly's responsibility. All this is doing is saying you've got the right to be able to do that for 45 days. If there's multiple executive orders that fall into that category, all those would end up being taken up. If you rewind time, I wasn't in the General Assembly, but when y'all came in here during COVID, y'all addressed a lot of separate issues all at the same time. It's not like there was one executive order here, and then you had to come back next week for another one, and the following week for another one. All that's taken up at the exact same time. So this just basically puts the lawmaking ability and authority back where it belongs, which is inside of the General Assembly. And what it does is still allows that same 45 days that the governor has for being able to get something started. But I completely disagree that it's impossible. Heck, I could be up in Chairman Faison's district, and I could get to the Capitol within 45 days on foot. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any more questions? Oh, yes. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this goes back to what Chairman or Speaker Johnson was mentioned a while ago. If it was like a 14-day declaration, would you have to come back in within that 14 days then to renew it? I know you got 45 listed in here, but what if it's a shorter period of time, like 14 days or whatever? Would we have to come into session for him to renew that executive order at that time?
No, so my understanding on, and we might have to go back out of session, chat with legal, but my understanding on it is the 45 days it used to be 60 days during the special session. Last time it was shortened down to 45 days. I didn't want to move or change any of that particular time frame that y'all had already debated on, timing-wise, for folks to be able to get back here for a special session. So my understanding is if it was a 14 days, the governor could end up renewing that up to, it could not be renewed beyond the 45-day window without a joint resolution.
Okay.
Question's been called.
Thank you.
All in favor of House Bill 422, please signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
I'm sorry, your bill fails. Item number 5, which is House Bill 975 by Representative Glenn, has been rolled to the heel of the calendar. Item number 6 is House Bill 1170 by Representative Hakeem. Don't see him, so we will roll to the hill in just a moment. Some of our other representatives aren't in the room right now, but we do have one that would be on our addendum calendar. It's item number 19 SJR 0004 by Representative Fritz. You have a motion and a second. Go ahead and present your bill.
Good afternoon, Chair Lady and committee. I appreciate your time on this. This House Joint Resolution 370 is the counterpart to a Senate Joint Resolution offered by Senator Pody. We discovered late last week, we had not carried this bill, we discovered late last week that the resolution did not have a House counterpart, and we did not want to miss the 75th anniversary, so thank you for your indulgence in allowing me to present this today. Why is recognizing this milestone important? Recognizing and honoring Israel's 75th anniversary as a nation. Historically, the United States has been Israel's strongest ally. We were the first nation to recognize the State of Israel in 1948 and the first nation to recognize Jerusalem as their capital in 2017. Israel plays a key role in U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East and has been her staunchest ally in the region. Our relationship with Israel benefits both us economically, our relationship benefits us both economically. In 2019, the U.S. exported goods to Israel worth $14.7 billion. An estimated $5.7 billion in services were exported. Tennessee also has a strong relationship with Israel. In 1996, Governor Sundquist signed the Tennessee-Israel Cooperation Agreement, which promotes cooperation in trade, arts, culture, education, tourism, and university-industry alliances. Since the signing of this agreement, Tennessee exports to Israel have totaled more than $1.2 billion. Tennessee has received more than $2.5 million in grants through the binational U.S.-Israeli foundations for joint research in science, ag, and promotion of commercial ventures. With that, Madam Chair Lady, I'll take any questions y'all may have.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote on SJR 04, 00004? Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. And full committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one clarification to make sure, I'm carrying this as House Joint Resolution 370, just to make sure I haven't messed my numbers up. It is to go inside with the Senate Joint Resolution. So make sure we're legal with that.
The motion that was made on the floor was to add SJR to the calendar, so that's how we're going to
Thank you so much.
report it. Thank you.
Thank you all.
That takes us back to item number 6, which is House Bill 1170 by Representative Hakeem, and that is going to be rolled to the Hill. Well, can't get that. Also, item number 7, which is House Bill 1473, and that is Representative Pearson that is carrying that bill, but that one also has been rolled to the Hill. Now we're on item number 8, which is House Bill 547 by Representative Harris, and that one also has been rolled to the Hill. I see that Representative Butler is in the House, so we're going to move him up in the calendar. Just a moment. We're going to start with item number 14, which is House Bill 1420, and Representative Butler has taken that one off notice. Next up, we have item number 15, which is House Bill 1024. Representative Butler, you're recognized. Do we have a motion and a second on this bill? We do, and let's see, we previously adopted drafting code 6067. But we do have a new amendment filed. Could you give me that drafting code?
6754.
6754. Do we have a motion and a second on this amendment? We have a motion and a second. We're ready to vote on putting this amendment on the bill. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Your amendment is on the bill, and you're recognized to explain your legislation.
Thank you, Chair Letty and committee. This legislation, as we previously discussed, just imposes a fine of $10,000 a day for any governmental entity that removes any type of monument or historical item without the permission of the Tennessee Historical Commission or the potential committee created in House Bill 1025. In addition to, I think legal pointed out last time that there are some grants that are withheld for 5 years and some other things that go along with this. So this just adds to the punishment. And so with that, I'll renew my motion and stand for questions.
Any questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, are we ready to vote on this question on the bill? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. We have, okay. The ayes have it, and it moves on to full committee. Next up is item number 16, which is House Bill 1025, also by Representative Butler. Do we have a motion and a second? Motion. We do. And I believe you do have an amendment on this bill. Could
Yes.
you give me your drafting code?
Yes, Chair Lady, it's 6750.
Let's go ahead and get that. Do we have a motion and a second? With objection, let's go ahead and put that amendment on the bill. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? The amendments on the bill, please explain your bill.
So this bill creates the Tennessee Monuments and Memorials Commission that would actually work to deal with any of the waivers that are requested to remove, relocate, or change any of the monuments across the state of Tennessee. And it would further assist the Tennessee Historical Commission, which is currently handling those waivers and getting quite bogged down with that process. This will have a 9-member committee that will help to address these issues. And so we have worked with TDEC to get this amendment that we filed that we just voted on, which allows 9 members to be appointed by the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the Speaker of the House. And one of those members will be appointed for 4 years, one member for 3, one member for 2 years, so that there is a rotation of not rotating all the members off at one time, which would be detrimental to the committee, and further addresses some administrative issues and so forth for management of the committee itself. So with that, I'll renew my motion and answer any questions.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Representative Dixie?
Just want to make sure which bill we're on, 1025 or
1025.
1025. So how does this coincide with the historical commission? It seems like it's replacing it or taking some of the responsibility. Can you kind of explain the difference
You're
to me?
recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. This committee or commission would just handle waiver requests that are made to remove, change, modify any type of historical monument across the state of Tennessee. Currently, those issues are handled by the Tennessee Historical Commission, and it prohibits them a lot of times from being able to do the other things that they're supposed to be doing. So this commission, that's their sole purpose, is handling these particular issues.
Representative Dixie?
2 questions. How is it handled now? And then I'm not sure if I remember hearing you correctly about how the commission is appointed or set up.
You're recognized.
The Tennessee Historical Commission right now, as it stands, is appointed by the governor. And so to answer that question, they're appointed by the governor. The waiver process is already established. This commission would follow that same waiver process, but these commission members would be appointed by the Speaker of the House, Lieutenant Governor, and the governor.
Representative Dixie?
We've seen this happen, the reconstitution, or I don't know what the word is, of these commissions where it's taking it away from the governor and it's putting it in the hands of the speakers of the both chambers. What's the reason for that?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Well, in my personal opinion, to answer your question, I think it provides a separation of appointing authority and essentially a separation of power. So now that you have the governor, the upper house and the lower house of the Senate and the House electing those positions, it further requires those appointees to be appointed, one from each grand region of Tennessee, west, middle, and east. So both the Speaker, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Governor have to appoint one person from each one of those regions. And then they further have the authority to determine whether they're serving a 2-year term, a 3-year term, or a 4-year term for the initial term, 4-year term. So I think it separates the power out. So one person or one appointing authority doesn't have all of that authority.
You're recognized, Representative Dixie.
Currently, are all 3 grand divisions represented? I mean, well, I'm sorry, this commission doesn't exist.
No.
Strike that question. Sorry. All right. Thanks.
Any more questions? Yes, Chairman Kiesling.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Has TDEC, have they requested any testimony on this one?
We do. We have Horace Tipton with TDEC.
Great. I would like to request, if you would allow,
Sure.
Chair Lady.
Yes,
for
we'll
us
go
to
out of session
out
and invite Mr. Tipton up.
Thank you.
Please give us your name and who you're with.
Horace Tipton, Legislative Liaison with the Department of Environment and Conservation. As the representative said, we are deferred on the amendment that y'all just voted on. What the amendment does is clarify some of those administrative problems with creating a new commission, as well as give them rule promulgation authority that they would likely need in order to carry out the Heritage Protection Act.
You're recognized, Chairman.
Thank you,
Kiesling.
Chair Lady. Okay. So you're fine with this. As you said, you've deferred. So does this then this will go back into your, I mean, once if this should pass, then we would come back to you to promulgate any or put together the rules or regs or procedure on this in appointing these, but pretty much it spells it out just how it would be chosen, right? Is that correct?
Any rules that were promulgated by the new commission, but any rules that are promulgated under this will be promulgated by the new commission, not
Yeah,
by TDEC.
not but yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, that's good. That's all I have. Thank you, Chair
Do we
Lady.
have
Thank you, Horace.
any more questions? Yes, Chairman Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The only thing I was thinking about is would the money already be in your budget for this, or is it something that we're going to have to, another expenditure that we would have to approve?
And I do understand that a fiscal note has been issued. I just was able to glance at it earlier during this committee. Haven't had time to fully digest that. But this would be a new commission. This would be a separate commission. So I don't believe that there would already be money in the budget fully for that. But I'd have to take a deeper dive into that fiscal note to.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any more questions while we're out of session? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go back into session. We'll hear from our, do you have any closing remarks?
I would just renew my motion, and I appreciate your vote.
Any questions? Yes, Representative Dixie.
I noticed this has a pretty hefty fiscal note attached to it. Where are those funds going to come from?
Well, we're in discussions with TDEC now to determine whether, originally the bill did not have a physical note. With the amendment, they've assigned a physical note, which is much greater than it was before. It was zero. So we're still discussing some of that to see about utilizing some of the current staff that's already there. So that's exactly where that money's going to come from. I do not have an answer at the moment, but we're working on it.
Any more questions? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on House Bill 1025. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and you move on to full committee.
Thank you, committee.
Representative Butler, I think you have one more bill. It's item number 17, House Bill 1023 by Representative Butler.
I'm sorry.
You're just anxious to get out of here.
I apologize.
Do we have a motion and a second on House Bill 1023? We do. There's no amendments filed. Representative, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Well, I would request that we roll that bill to next session, to next year. Stand for any questions.
Roll. You want to?
I would like to roll it to next session or next.
First calendar,
please.
2024.
Yes, Chair Lady.
Without objection, we'll roll this to 1023 to the first calendar of 2024. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Representative Glenn's in the House, and that puts us back to item number 5, which is House Bill 975. Do I have a motion and a second on this bill? We do, and there's no amendments filed, so Representative, you're recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and committee. What this House Bill 975, what it does is it aims to allow teachers to return to substitute teach without affecting their pension. Right now, they can teach up for 120 days a year after they retire without affecting it. This allows them to go beyond 120 days with the hope that this will help with our teacher shortage. And with that, Madam Chair, I renew my motion.
Do we have any questions for our sponsor? Is that a no? You do? Okay. Chairman Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative Glenn, I see that the administration has flagged this. Is that correct?
I did not see that.
I don't know if it's because of that. No, the administration's position is flagged off fiscal. Madam Chair, I just figured it out. Thank
Yes,
you.
it is flagged, yes. Representative Alexander.
Sponsor, we had this same bill last year. Do you know the difference between, because I carried it and we passed it on the House floor last year.
I do not. I received it from my Senate sponsor, so
And
this has already been passed?
if it's not, it's for bus drivers and school teachers to go back into the classroom after retirement. So, I don't know. You don't know? Okay. I did it with the Treasury Department. We did it with the Treasury Department. So, and they worked out the compensation for the pension and stuff. So I don't know how different it is, or I'm just not sure.
We're going to go out of session and talk to legal.
Oh, thank you, Matt Money from Legal. I'm not familiar with the bill. I do remember us doing something about it. It may have been putting in the 120-day period.
It put in the 120-day period. It allowed them to get paid by the school system that they were in, or that they were going to go into to teach with, as well as it allowed them to draw 70% of their retirement.
Right.
And then when they returned out of that, and it also had the 120 days. I think it actually went from 120 to 180 days.
Okay. And what I can offer to the committee is that depending on what they decide, how they decide to proceed, if they move the bill to full, we can find out those answers between now and full, or if we have to reconvene.
I just felt like if we've already got a bill in there, we don't need it if we've got it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Chairman Kiesling.
I'll withhold until we go, I'm sorry, until we go back in session. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any more questions for legal? Okay, we'll go back into session. You're recognized,
Thank you,
Chairman
Madam Chair. To our analyst, where is this? I see that it's being placed on over in the Senate. It's calendared for today. Of course, here we are past noon, almost 1,300 hours. Have they met yet?
They didn't get to it today.
Pardon? Tomorrow. Oh, sorry. Okay, I see where it was placed on the calendar on 3/22. That's the reason I was asking. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we want, we have to decide if we're going to move this to full committee or if we're going to take care of it here. So this is could be the last calendar. So we're just going to go ahead and vote on, do you have any closing remarks?
No, Madam.
Okay. We'll go ahead and vote on House Bill 1392. No, that's not it. I'm looking at something crazy. 975, House Bill 975. All in favor of House Bill 975, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it, and you're going to move on to full committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee.
Now we're at item number 9, which is House Bill 1392 by Representative Harris. We're going to move this to the Hill. House Bill, item number 10, which is House Bill 1521 by Representative Hardaway, is rolled to the Hill. Item number 11, House Bill 1523, also by Representative Hardaway, is rolled to the Hill. Item number 12, House Bill 1462 by Representative Towns, rolled to the Hill. House Bill Item number 13, which is House Bill 1463 by Representative Towns, move to the Hill. Item number 14, which is House Bill 1420. And we are at the Hill. Okay, just a moment. Representative Kiesling, or you want to be recognized?
I'll be glad to, Madam Chair. Thank you. If there's no objections, I'm going to make a motion to roll these that you mentioned to the first calendar of our next year, 24.
Any objections? The bills that I mentioned previously will all be rolled to the first calendar of 2024?
That's my motion, yes. It may not receive a second, but that's my motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Second on that motion, all in favor? Just a moment. For the record, that would be House Bill 1170, House Bill 73, House Bill 547, House Bill 1392, House Bill 1521, House Bill 1523, House Bill 1462, and House Bill 1463 are rolled to the first calendar of 2024.
That brings us to our special calendar.
Do we have? Okay. That brings us to our special calendar. First item is House Bill 1160 by Chairman Todd, and that bill has been taken off notice. And that bill will be sent to the clerk's desk. Item number 2 is House Bill 302 by Representative Jones. Do I have a motion and a second? We have a motion and a second. There are no amendments filed, so Representative, you are recognized to explain your bill.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This bill is a very straightforward bill that is a bipartisan bill supported by Democrats and Republicans in the community. This bill is basically saying that the people have a right to know who is in the people's house. And this bill is about transparency for lobbyists to require them to wear badges listing their clients who are paying them to be here and influence policy decisions so that we know who's in the room and who is in the people's house influencing policy decisions. This is a very straightforward bill that is just trying to shine more light in this building and allows citizens to know the players who are actors in the process of democratic government. And I think the most important thing about this bill is that it's sending a message to the people that their voice matters and that more than in money, that people power is what rules in the people's house, and that we want to make sure that citizens feel welcome here and that they understand what are the factors that are coming into decisions. Is it what constituents are saying, or is it lobbyists going to meet with certain lawmakers and put undue amount of influence on the democratic process? And so my hope is to have your support for this so we can continue the conversation and open up the doors of the people's house. Thank you.
You've heard the explanation. Do we have any questions from our members? Do we have any questions Question's been called. We're voting on House Bill 302 by Representative Jones. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? No. No. Your bill fails.
Thank you so much.
That completes our calendar for this year. If there's no further business before this committee, yes. Yes, Chairman. Yep.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say what an exceptional job you've done this year. It's been a pleasure serving on your committee, and I've really enjoyed serving on it myself. We've got a really good group, so thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you, and thank all of you. It's been my honor and my privilege to serve with you, and I want to thank everybody that has been a part of helping me, our Sergeant at Arms, my assistant, Kim Summers, of course, Nathan here, couldn't have done without him, or Matt Mundy. So thank you all so very much for being a part of this. I've enjoyed my first chairmanship, and Chairman Kiesling, did you want to be recognized?
I would just be redundant in saying exactly what our speaker did. It's truly been a joy, and you've done a tremendous job. We appreciate you very much. Thank you.
Thank all of you. So we will be adjourned at the call of the chair.
Just say the committee's closed.
The committee is closed, is what I'm supposed to, subject to the call of the chair. Thank you very much. I'm learning.